Hello everyone, this is Build for PuTTY Productions, and today I will be showing you how to set up a cloud SRT relay server. But real quick, this tutorial is going to be a little more technical than our normal content. We understand that an SRT relay server is a very valuable tool to a lot of remote producers, so we wanted to make this guide for everyone. If this is too difficult for you, but you'd still like a server to add to your productions, check out our hosting options on our website. We price it fairly and handle all the hard stuff for you. Before we begin, you will need to download a couple programs, PuTTY and FileZilla. The links are in the description. Please install them before continuing. The first step is picking a cloud hosting provider. Now, there are many cloud hosting providers to choose from: AWS, Google Cloud, Vultr, Kamacha, tons more. For the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be using PuTTY's go-to hosting provider, Vultr. And if you use our referral link in the description to sign up, we get a credit and it would really help us out. Now, choosing which server deployment on your cloud platform of choice is an important task. You will need to weigh cost and performance wisely. Here on Vultr, you can see there's a few categories. For our relay today, we'll be using Vultr's cloud compute servers, which use non-dedicated threads. Non-dedicated thread simply means that multiple users may use a thread's resources at the same time. They do this to reduce cost and serve more customers from a single server. Thankfully for our purposes, relaying data around the internet is not super CPU intensive. For our category of cloud compute server, we will go with AMD High Performance. There are cheaper options, but I really recommend this as the lowest tier to start from and then move up from here. Next, you need to pick a server location. If most of the parts of your production are all in the same area, then just pick whichever server is closest to you. If you need to be accepting feeds from all across a country or countries, try to pick a server in the middle of your estimated production region. For example, when I do shows, sometimes I need to take in feeds from both the East and West Coast of the United States, so I usually default to Chicago or Dallas. Now that we have our region picked out, we need to select our operating system. For this tutorial, we'll be using Ubuntu 20.04. Finally, the last step is selecting what size server you need. Now, this will vary depending on your needs, but Vultr does let you upgrade your server at will, so there's no harm in starting small and seeing if it works for you. One thing to note is that you cannot downgrade your servers after you upgrade them. If you need to downgrade, you'll need to delete the server and create a new one from scratch or an image. Vultr's snapshot feature can help with that, but the snapshot can only be restored to a server of the same size or greater of which it was created. So if you want to downgrade, you will have needed to take a snapshot before you upgraded your server. You can also select if you want monthly backups. Personally, I just take a snapshot every once in a while for the 5 cents per gigabyte, and DDoS protection is up to you. If you are going to be running the kind of show that people might want to try and take down or mess with, then DDoS protection might be worth it to you. But now that we have everything selected, let's spin up the server and let everything install. It should only take a few minutes. Now it's time to connect to our server. So open PuTTY, it should be defaulted to session, put in the IP address of your server here and use port 22. Set the connection type to SSH and open. You should be prompted with the Ubuntu login screen. If you aren't, then your server is probably still setting up, so just wait a few minutes and try again. Type root and press enter. Then copy the password from your server page like this, then select the PuTTY window. In PuTTY, right-click is paste, so right-click anywhere inside the window to paste the password. You won't see anything because all passwords are hidden by default in Ubuntu. Press enter and you should be logged in. If not, make sure the server password is in your clipboard and do the process over. For our relay, we will be using Nimble Streamer. I would like to note that most experienced Linux users don't recommend installing software as root and recommend making a user account and installing your software within that account. However, if you only plan to use this server as an SRT relay, it's not that big of a deal, just keep your passwords safe. All the commands can be found in a Google Doc linked below. They will all have numbers next to them, and you will see the corresponding number on the screen for which command we are currently on. So first, we need to add Nimble to our sources list. This will let the operating system know where to go for updates and the initial installation. Nano is the text editor built into Linux. It allows us to edit files without needing to download and open them. First, use this command to use the Nano editor to edit the sources.list file. Once you have the file open, paste this into a new line at the bottom of the file. You can use the arrow keys to move the text cursor around. Right-click to paste, then press Ctrl-X to save the file, press Y for yes, and then enter. Next, we need to add a GPG key for Nimble. Do that with this command. Now, run this command to grab updates for all packages. Now run this command to install Nimble. And finally, this command that installs the Nimble SRT extension. Now that Nimble is installed, we need to edit the config file to allow for multiple connections for a single SRT feed. Again, we are going to use the Nano editor, but this time we are editing nimble.conf. Next, copy this line into the bottom of the configuration file. And then again, Ctrl-X to save, Y for yes to overwrite, and then enter. Then run this command to restart Nimble. Congratulations, you have successfully installed Nimble. We will be using a free trial of WMSPanel to configure Nimble. Don't worry, when your trial is over, your server still keeps its configuration. I will also be showing you how to change existing settings through the rules file when the trial is over. But if you do want to support the WMSPanel creators, you can pay $30 a month to get full easy control over Nimble settings into the future. First, sign up for an account on their website. There is a link in the description. Once you sign up, you'll get an email with your password. Use it to sign into WMSPanel. Once you sign in, we need to go back into PuTTY and register the server there. Enter this command to start the registration utility. Enter your email, followed by your password. Remember that you right-click to paste and that your password will be invisible. Now, just type reboot to reboot the server. Once this is done, go to the Servers tab in WMSPanel. Refresh a few times and wait for your new server to appear. It might take a minute or two. Once your server is there, it's time to configure it. This tutorial will be showing you how to create 20 SRT feeds. Why is the number limited? Because Nimble needs every input and output to be pre-configured. If you need more streams, well, feel free to create more during your trial period, or right now while following this tutorial. If you think 20 is overkill, you could just stop at 10. Before we create the stream inputs and outputs, there is a link in the description to a spreadsheet I have created that allows you to keep track of all the information that we are about to enter into the server, and also automatically create sender and receiver links for OBS, as well as vMix settings. The rest of this tutorial will be using this spreadsheet, so I highly recommend you follow along. And I spent quite a while making it. Click the link in the description to open the spreadsheet, go to File, make a copy, and then name it something you can remember. Once your copy has been created in your Google Drive, go ahead and put your server's IP address into the server IP/hostname field. You can find that under your server information in your Vultr control panel. Now we can go back to WMSPanel. Every SRT stream will use its own port, so we need to set aside 20 input ports and 20 output ports. I like to follow a naming convention where every port ends with the camera number. In our case, camera 1's input port is going to be 44401, and camera 1's output port will be 55501. You can use any ports you like, however, I do suggest using them in a sequence for easy management, and if you follow this sequence, your ports will work with my spreadsheet, which will make your life a lot easier. But if you want to keep things simple, just set up your server the exact same way I'm doing here. To start, go to Live Streams Settings. Then let's remove the global protocols to reduce some overhead. Next, go to MPEG-TS in, add SRT stream, set receive mode to listen, local IP to 0.0.0.0, which will make it listen on all network interfaces, local port to 44401, like I mentioned before, name it SRT1 input, just so it's easy to keep track of. Now we need to decide if we want a passphrase on this stream. A passphrase will make your SRT feeds encrypted. If we put a passphrase on it, you will only be able to send a video feed if the passphrase is included in the SRT arguments. I personally recommend using a passphrase for all of your video feeds. Passphrases have to be 10 characters or longer. So for this example, I'll just set it to password123, but please do not copy this passphrase. Come up with your own unique passphrase for each stream and keep it safe, ideally something randomly generated. This will prevent people from using your server without your permission and prevent anyone from snooping on your video feeds. To enable a passphrase, enter passphrase into the custom parameter box. You will see pb_keylen appear. This is required for passphrase to work with Nimble. Just remember that your key length is 16, as you may need to enter the key length in some broadcasting software. If you do change the key length, make sure to update it in the spreadsheet. Enter your passphrase in the parameter value box. Make sure the add outgoing streams box is checked. Then, for our stream, we'll keep things consistent. Every stream's application will be called SRT, all lowercase, and every stream name will be the number of that stream. Since this is our first one, our stream name is 1. Now go back to the spreadsheet you copied earlier. You'll want to be sure to enter the starting port for your inputs and the passphrase for your first stream in the SRT1 password box. Something to note is that I have made it so all of the passwords are invisible inside the password boxes, but you can view them just by clicking on them, double-clicking on them, copying them, etc. But now you can select SRT1 in the drop-down box and you'll see a complete OBS URL in vMix settings appear. But we're not done yet. Now go back to WMSPanel again. We need to repeat the process of creating that stream 19 more times, each time incrementing the port, stream name, and a label number by 1, while also creating unique passphrases and copying them to the spreadsheet as we go. So let's do this again. Add SRT stream, listen, 000, 44402 this time, SRT2 input, passphrase, create a passphrase, SRT all lowercase, 2 this time instead of 1, and save. Now do that again, but replace all the 2's with the 3's. Then do it again, but replace the 3's with the 4's. And keep on going until you get all the way to 20. And a pro tip, once you get to SRT input 10, you can sort the list by port to make them get in their proper order, because otherwise it sorts by name and it kind of does it weird. Whew, we're back. That took a little while. Your MPEG TS page should look like this now. Every port should match each SRT number. Click on MPEG TS out and you should see all of your stream names listed. They seem slightly out of order, but that's okay, as long as they're all there. You should also have all of your passphrases in your spreadsheet. So now that all of our inputs are done, we need to create our outputs. Click on UDP streaming and then click Add SRT setting. This looks a little familiar, I bet. Set the mode to listen. IP to 0.0.0.0 for all interfaces again. For the port, we are going to use 55501 as our starting port, with the last 2 numbers representing the camera number, the same way we did for our input ports. Set the alias to SRT output 1, and we will be using the same stream name from the input feed, so that way the output knows where to get the data. Lowercase SRT for the application, 1 for the source name. Then put passphrase in the custom parameter box, and for the value, go back to the spreadsheet and grab the same password you used for your input 1 stream. We use the same password for the input and output stream because 1, it makes things a bit simpler, and 2, it doesn't really add much security. If the person sending the feed has the password, then they already have the feed, and the ability to pull the same exact feed they're sending in the first place doesn't really add much security in my opinion, but it is an option if you have a need for it. Next, open the spreadsheet back up and enter your output starting port in this box. Now the spreadsheet is actually technically complete. Each feed you select will create proper input and output settings, but the server is not done yet. So let's finish creating our output streams. Just like the input streams, repeat this process 19 more times, each time incrementing the port, stream name, and label number by 1, while also grabbing the passphrase from the spreadsheet for each stream respectively. Set the mode to listen, IP to 0.0.0 for all interfaces, port 55502, SRT output 2, and it will be using the same name from the input feed, SRT for the application, 2 for the source name. And for the passphrase, again, custom parameter box, enter passphrase, and then for the value, we're gonna go back to the spreadsheet, go to the SRT2 password box, go on back to WMSPanel and paste it into the parameter value. And then do it again, and again, and again, and again, 18 more times until you are finally done. I know you can do it. I believe in you. Just keep that mouse clicking, keep that keyboard typing. Whew, and we're done again. I'm sorry that this takes so long. It's a little tedious to click over and over and over again and increment by 1 and do it again and again. And now that you're done, remember to sort by port and make sure everything matches and that all streams are on. If any of the streams show a play button, you'll need to click it to make it active again, for both the inputs and the outputs. One more optimization we need to make is to increase the cache size for long-term performance. Go to Servers, click on your servers, and click Edit. Increase the max cache size to 512 megabytes, then click Save. Now the Nimble setup is complete. Pat yourself on the back. That probably took a while. Next, we need to allow the ports in Ubuntu for the streams we just created. We can do that by entering the range of ports used in a command. If you've been following along with my settings, feel free to just copy and paste the commands as is. But if you used different ports, you'll need to change them in the command. Open PuTTY and connect the same way you did the first time, logging in as root. Remember that right-click is paste and passwords aren't shown in Ubuntu. Then enter the following commands. Sudo ufw allow 44401 through 44420-UDP. This command will allow incoming connections on all of those ports over the UDP protocol, which is what SRT uses. Next, enter this command. This will allow the ports for our output streams. Now you are officially fully configured. The streams should work based on the generator in the spreadsheet. If they don't for some reason, or you need help troubleshooting, feel free to join the 2NU Productions Discord and ask for help. Now, once you have tested that everything is working, we want to set up the server for future configuration without WMSPanel. Now, you can come back and do this later once your trial is over or close to over, but if you are confident that everything is working and actually tested every stream, and like I mean it, every stream, then we can finish this last step. Go back to the Servers tab in WMSPanel. Once you delete your server, all of your WMSPanel settings will be gone. All of the settings will still exist on the server itself, but everything in WMSPanel will no longer be accessible. With that in mind, click on your server, then click Delete. Once your server is deleted from WMSPanel, open up FileZilla. In the host box at the top, enter sftp:// followed by the IP of your server. For the username, put root. For the password, use the password from your Vultr control panel. Then click Quick Connect. Once in the file structure, click the folder with the 2 dots to go up a level. Then navigate to the etc folder, then the Nimble folder. Drag the rules.conf file out of FileZilla into a folder of your choosing. This will download the file. Also, put a copy of the file in a different folder for safekeeping in case something goes wrong. Next, open rules.conf in a text editor of your choice. Notepad works in Windows. Press Ctrl-A to select all the text, then Ctrl-X to cut it. Then open unminify.com. There's a link in the description. Paste all of the text into Unminify and click the Unminify button. You'll now see that your config looks beautiful now. So copy all that beautiful text and go back to your text editor and paste in the new beautiful unminified text. Now you should be able to read the config much better and be able to edit some of the settings in the future. You can edit passwords, key lengths, anything. But remember that all the settings for the inputs and outputs are separate and different. So if you want to change a password, I would suggest doing it by going to Edit, Replace, and entering one of your existing passwords and putting your new password into the Replace With box. Next, save the file and then drag the newly edited rules.conf from your computer into FileZilla. Click Overwrite, and now your beautiful config is running the show. Reboot your server and test it just to be safe, and if it breaks, you have that backup file. I hope. Do you have that backup file? And that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you all learned something and managed to get your SRT relays up and running without issue. Remember to use our Vultr referral link in the description to sign up. I will be answering questions in the comments. If you want more direct help, feel free to join the 2New Productions Discord and app build, and I'll do my best to help you out. If you need a live event put on, 2New is looking for clients, so send us an email at hello@2newproductions.com, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.